tell you guys, I hope it's going well. When it comes to preaching, and you will hear now why, it gets quite tough. It gets harder and harder. But it made it very special this week. So bear with me. If an Afrikaans word falls somewhere, that's me. All right. You will see in the program that there's a few things highlighted. We're going to listen to music. We're going to listen to some tributes, and you are allowed to follow in there. For those of you that are part of the live stream, please bear with us also for the fact that we are not really allowed to play this music on YouTube because of copyright issues. So if you listen today we will put the song title on the screen for you, and then you can grab your phone and quickly Apple Music or Spotify or whatever you would like to do to listen with us. But keep that in mind, please. That's something we cannot sidestep, unfortunately. But we in church will be able to listen to the music, if that's fine with you. Let's start today, and let's close our eyes and begin in the name of the Lord. I lift my eyes up to the mountains. Where does my help come from? My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. You will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel will neither sleep nor slumber. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace. Amen. We're going to listen to our first song. brothers and sisters, there's a reason why the words are in the program. I wanted to sing loudly. Garth said he printed the words for all of you to sing, and now no one sings. Garth, I'm somewhat joking. But feel free to sing. I mean, it's more why we're here also to celebrate. We know this song also. I'm going to give you a chance to Merinda, Elize's sister, up here in front, so that all of us can hear you. Please, Merinda. Thanks.
Kan almal my mooi hoor? Forgive me for reading for what I'm about to say. For fear of failing to mention important memories. How do you summarize 61 years of life in just a couple of minutes? But then there's Urbanal. My sister, Martha Elizabeth, Elize, Lize, and then Snoochie, the pet name that my grandfather used to call her, was born when I was 15 months old. I remember the wooden dollhouse that our dad built along with the little tables and chairs. They thought it wise to avoid any argument between us, and so the dollhouse became Elize's and the table and chairs were mine. Well, needless to say, it caused sibling rivalry. She obviously told me to get out of the dollhouse, and I took my furniture and left. Then there was a time when we were out biking on our yellow and purple choppers on the dirt road that led to our property. In my childlike wisdom, I decided to bump her back wheel, watching her fly over the handlebars and into the tall grass. Then, of course, the time that I broke Mom's glass vase and hid it under her pillow. Needless to say, I was the rebel and she had to bear the brunt. As the years passed, she finally got her own voice. Through all this, she learned to dig in her heels and stand up for herself. And that way she became the formidable force to be reckoned with, in a very polished manner. I had a hand in building her character, like a big sister should. We enjoyed ice skating as a family. My mom would take us to the ice rink almost every weekend. Elize was into sports. I remember us going apeshit on the side of the korfball court. One of her many accomplishments was that she got herself Southern Transvaal colors. As life went on and we grew together, we learned to respect and appreciate one another. As our paths and journeys changed, Elize became a successful career woman where she strived. She never gave up on her goals. Although cancer is a dreadful disease, I can't help to be eternally grateful for the opportunity we had to spend quality time with her in the last couple of months. She handled it with the utmost poise and grace. When she was feeling physically and emotionally exhausted, she would confide in me about what she was truly feeling. Yet she mostly put on a brave face. I would try to console her with facts, as I myself needed to stay emotionally strong for her. She was mostly homebound, and we had to bring the world to her, although we were limited in what we had to offer. Nevertheless, we did what we could to see that she was comfortable and content. We are grateful that she had Garth and Liam treating her like a queen always and providing the best care ever. At the end of the day, when all is said and done, we are all just walking each other home.
Ooh. Merinda, we are all for attention, but not for heart attacks. I was watching each step here. Sure, my hands are sweating now. Are you all right, Merinda? Okay. Okay. For a lack of other words, I'm going to use the words brothers and sisters quite a lot because in our congregation with a sermon you say geliefde broers and sisters. So when I say brothers and sisters, I'm not saying ladies and gentlemen. It's a different place we're at today. But if I say brothers and sisters, I want you to listen today. There's a certain stage in my life as a reverend, a minister, a pastor, a dominee, whatever you want to call me, but specifically in our denomination, within the Reformed theology, the Protestant church, where we become quite rational about faith. And I'm dead serious with you now. We are rational about it, and we try to be intellectual about it. And normally we do not leave space for the mystery of God, because we are scared of that. If you can't debate it, then it isn't faith. But I'm going to share a story with you today. I've realized over these past few months, and especially in these last few days, that there is more than enough room for moments when the Lord speaks to you through other people and uses you specifically to do a few things. And I want to tell you about my journey with Garth and Elize and Liam. It started the 3rd of March when Garth posted a message on Facebook, a post, and he said, does anyone have the number for Leon Giel at Midstream Familiekerk? And at that stage, I decided in my life a while back, I think from 2022, I'm getting off Facebook because it frustrated me. I got addicted to Facebook. Can you believe it? Scrolling the whole time, wasting time. But I needed to make a choice in my life off of Facebook. So one of my friends, Paul, sent me a message and he said, someone is looking for you. And I said, well, tell them to get in the queue. Everyone is looking for me. And he sent me the message of Garth. And I got a call from him telling me that his wife would like to meet me. I was like, okay. He told me the whole story. And I said, all right, what will suit you the best? And he said, well, as soon as possible. And I said, okay, today is I think it was a Friday. No, it was a Sunday, I think, more or less. Anyways, but we decided on the 5th of March, Tuesday morning. I must say this quickly. That was my wedding anniversary that day. You won't believe it. The 5th of March. Now, quite strange, and Garth told me this that night when we sat on the bed with Elize, that she actually passed away on their wedding anniversary. But it wasn't the 18th, because the 18th was the wedding day and the function and the celebration, but they needed to get married on the 17th of June. Am I right? So just listen to this. That was quite weird when I actually realized that. I went back to my Google Calendar to figure that out. But this is what I want to say. A dominee have never been in an interview, because that will be quite strange. When you come to a church or a church council, they ask you all of these questions that you normally receive in your secular world, the business world. But I had an interview with Elize. And that Tuesday late afternoon, I got the confirmation from Garth that Elize was impressed. And she would love to walk with me on this road. We didn't at that stage realize how quick it's going to be. But as I spoke to Garth, I couldn't believe that it was, I think, 4 or 5 months since I met her the first time. 4 months. And then she passed away. It felt like an eternity actually to me, because I got to know them so well, especially Liam and Garth and Merinda, and then later on the friends. But what a privilege. And as I say today, do not underestimate the power of the Lord, who uses people to also guide you to certain places. And Garth and Elize, I told Garth, that also became a very important example for my marriage of what it means for a husband to be there till the end. Hand in hand, side by side. And for that I will be ever grateful. Today we're going to read together from Psalm 126, and I must say this also, I don't know if Garth and Liam and maybe Merinda will remember this, but this was the first text I read Elize on the 5th of March, 2024. It's a very special part for me. Let's read it together. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said among the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. Restore our fortunes, Lord, like the streams in the Negev. Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. Just read that last verse with me again. Those who go out weeping, carrying seed to sow, will return with songs of joy, carrying sheaves with them. Dear brothers and sisters, it goes without saying, but this was probably one of the toughest weeks in my sermon writing career. First reason, probably the one that I've already mentioned to you, is the fact that when you write in another language, you tend to concentrate because each word gets weighed. But you may also think that there were a few other reasons like time, what message, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and maybe because I didn't have the quietness I would normally enjoy when writing a sermon, because it's just too busy. But the biggest challenge for me was realizing that we do overcomplicate a message that is quite simple. And we do that not because we think we are clever. We do it because we like to make our own knowledge shown. And I needed to realize that again this week. Don't overcomplicate. Speak from the heart. I want to start today and tell you, and I'm going to make a big confession here, I have a very big love for shoes. My wife often reminds me how I spend too much on shoes, and they will always take me back to my cupboard and show me, but we've got a black pair of sneakers, we've got a white pair of sneakers, why do we need, and then I will debate with her and say, but this pair, I mean, this is quite special. And I used to spend quite a lot on shoes. You probably know better than me, shoes do get more expensive nowadays, especially if you're interested in a certain brand. Nowadays, I quite struggle to pay more than 500 Rand for a pair of shoes. But if it gets over 1,000 Rand, I normally tell myself, goedkoop koop is duur koop. Which means that sometimes when going for the cheapest price eventually costs a lot more. And that's how I debate with myself of buying a new pair of shoes. But that's not the debate that I want to have with you today. I figured it out. Don't stress about it. But there's another truth, which is, I think, sometimes underestimated. The fact that the shoes we put on determines normally the task that lies ahead. And I somewhere thought simply in my own head, pluckies are not meant for the wild. When you go hunting, a pair of pluckies will not work. Well, you can try. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. Another one is that tackies are made for running and not a pair of Arthur Bakers, the ones I'm wearing today maybe. More than that, sneakers could be worn with a suit, but the older people do quite frown when they see that. But I have only one rule when it comes to shoes. They must see a certain amount of handy-andy or a bit of nugget before putting it on for the public eye. My dad used to tell me, if you don't want people to look at your shoes, look them in the eye. Then they won't look at your shoes. I don't believe it. I clean my shoes every day, and I find quite solace in that. And today, while we're celebrating a very remarkable lady, all of you will receive something from Garth and Liam today, and that inspired the message. Something simple. All of you are going to receive a packet with shoelaces and seeds of sunflower. And the moment Garth showed me that on Monday, I clicked. And this was a message that I wanted to share. Brothers and sisters, with a pair of shoelaces and a bit of seeds, faith made sense again for me, especially for me. Tying shoelaces is probably one of the most daunting tasks for a child when growing up. And for parents, it takes quite a lot of patience to teach them how the bunny ears should work and walking around trees. And then I normally ask myself, is it really necessary for my child to put on shoes? Can I just not use the slip-on ones? But it's a task that your child probably masters second once he starts learning or she starts learning to eat with a fork and a knife. Tying shoelaces. And for us, it has become quite a mundane task. I mean, how many of you have thought, oh, you tied your shoelaces today? Did you ever really think about your fingers doing certain things? But shoelaces, I must say, has got a message. And we can ask ourselves today, but why put on shoes? Why not walk bare feet? There's loads of reasons for child development nowadays saying we don't have to wear shoes. But when it comes to life, and especially when it comes to faith, we need to put on our shoes. Because our little piggies need protection. Our toes, our feet. We need to put on our shoes every day. More than that, the reason why we wear shoes is not only for protection from the elements, but also to follow in the footsteps of the one that has walked before us, Jesus Christ. And today, if I invite you to tie your shoelaces, I don't consider you to tie these ones only. I invite you to tie your shoelaces with the Lord Jesus Christ. Because that's our biggest privilege in life, of walking with Him in His footsteps. Because He has already walked the way for us. I think maybe more than that, the Bible makes a few references to shoelaces. And one of the first references is the story of Enoch, a man of little mention in the Bible, but quite strange is Enoch was a man who put on his shoes, tied his shoelaces, and the Bible says in Hebrews, in the Hall of Fame of all believers, that Enoch was a man close to God. Why? Because he decided to walk with God. And he got it right in such a way that he missed death. He was there one day, and the other day he was gone. The Lord spared him death. Why? As an example for us, Enoch walked with the Lord every day. So if today you receive your pink shoelaces, if tomorrow you tie your shoelaces, if today you untie them, Always remember, tie your shoelaces, walk with Jesus Christ. But then there's another thing you will receive, and I said it already, is sunflowers. Now, whenever someone talks about sunflowers, I always go back to Ottosdal in the platteland, where I was before I came here. Now, for a stadsjapie like me, and a bit of a hipster, I call myself, and like shoes and clothes, it was quite tough to get to Ottosdal and seeing the boere there with their khakis, kortbroeke and hempies. And all of a sudden, I needed to not only change my cupboard and the way I dress, but the way I think. One of the biggest instances was what I told Garth and Liam and Elize that day, is when you sow, there goes quite a lot of time before you start seeing the plants. And it's quite a while before the season change for you to actually reap whatever you sowed. And one of the farmers that one day, Garth makes a joke with me the whole time, but one of the lessons the farmer learned me is, now we wait. For what? We wait. For whatever the Lord will provide. So whenever I think of sunflowers, the first image I see is Ottosdal with its sunflowers. Wonderful fields. The other one that I think of is the painting by Vincent van Gogh. I don't know if any one of you realize that. All of us, when we hear Vincent van Gogh, we normally think of Starry, Starry Night. But he painted sunflowers. And he only used yellow, but 4 different shades of yellow to show it is possible to paint with one color 4 different ways. But more than that, and I think that's what Elize's life was all about. Van Gogh said the sunflower paintings had a special significance because they communicated gratitude. That's what a sunflower is. When I think of sunflowers nowadays, it shows gratitude. And I know there's a mystery behind sunflowers also always pointing towards the sun. It's true. They do turn their heads towards the sun. Grateful for the light that shines. And whenever it gets night, they turn down. That's how it works. And then we read in Psalm 126, and that's a photo one of my friends took of his fields. I asked him 2 days ago, send me a photo of what happened. Psalm 126 tells us of a person who is busy, always. Psalm 126 invites us not only to be reminded of, but to remember that the Lord has already provided. And when he sings the song, he says, great things have happened in the past. But when I think about it, great things have happened to us also in our lives. And just as the Lord normally provides, not on time, me and your time, we tend to want to have it happen quicker. There is the miracles, and like he says there, may the water again flow through the Negev, the desert. Can you believe it, that a river will flow through the Sahara? Impossible. But that's what God can make happen. But he ends off the psalm by saying, what is expected of you and me, and this is the powerful truth, our lives are determined by the seeds we sow. And not only that, we need to sow every day. And sometimes it's with laughter. You look forward to the new season coming. Yes, the weather looks good. It's going to rain. It just seems right. Other days, most days, today, tomorrow, will be days with tears in our eyes. But we are expected to sow. And may you hear that today. That although there's tears in our eyes, although we are grappled by this idea of being born and dying and the unfairness of life and everything that happens around us, there will come a stage, and I can promise you that, when you will look back at this picture. I used to do that. I walk through these sunflower fields, and then I look back and I see these rows standing. Can't remember how I actually got there, but I can see that the Lord provided. And may that be true today. 61, 63 years? How many? 61 years? If we look back on our lives now with Elize, We can remember a few things. We can probably remember all of the heartache, all of the worry, but we can look back and see that the Lord carried her, and through her example of walking side by side with the Lord, we can move on, sowing each day. May that keep you. May you be blessed in each and every aspect of your life. God will provide on His time, not ours. And He has provided. We're looking forward to a life in eternity with Him. Amen. Marty, I'm going to give you, there you go, Marty, I'm going to give you a chance. Thank you.
Had to be very careful on the stairs there. Firstly, I'd really like to thank you for this opportunity and privilege to be chosen to speak about Elize and to share a tribute. I do consider this an immense honor, so thank you for that. My tribute is going to be based on Elize's career. I know that there are many people who have never met, but Elize used to report to me at work. But I have known Elize for a very long time, even before that. I also received information on her working career from Christine Mills, who I believe is in Spain. So what I'll do is I will read the words that Christine provided with regards to Elize's career before she joined ABSA Insurance Company, and then I will share of my experiences with Elize from the time that she did start at ABSA Insurance Company. So the words from Christine Mills were as follows. Before joining ABSA, Elize worked as a secretary for a doctor. Christine was not sure when Elize joined and please forgive my pronunciation of Afrikaans, Volksklasse Machelas, but she herself joined Volksklasse on the 8th of November 1993. Elize worked as an assistant for Barney van der Merwe, who was the head of marketing and communications. This role, amongst other responsibilities, was responsible for the international conferences, the local busparades, and was key to the confidential information about the merger of the 4 brands into ABSA. Christine was tasked with taking advantage of the direct marketing of insurance products to the databases of what would then become ABSA. Shortly after Christine joined, Barney asked her to consider employing Elize, as she felt she needed a change and alternative focus. Elize then came on board as her direct marketing assistant and became a key player in the team, together with Sue Desbois, who was head of telemarketing. Together as a team, they implemented the first ABSA call center and supported the launch of the ABSA brand through extensive direct marketing of insurance campaigns, all paid for by third parties. They also provided key learnings to the ABSA Central Direct Marketing Department, as well evaluated in a controlled environment the use of fax and telephone as a response mechanism and implementation of retention programs. Later, an opportunity arose for Elize to take on a role in direct marketing with Cigna Insurance, which Christine encouraged Elize to take as the next step in her career. She worked closely with Barry Johnson, president of A&H Africa, and Christine and Elize continued to work together, as her role at Cigna was also a provider of services to the ABSA group. Elize then left Cigna to head up direct marketing for Nedbank. Christine was headhunted by AIG to take up the position of an assistant profit center manager. And in the process of redesigning the A&H department, an opportunity arose for them to offer Elize the position of administration manager, being responsible for a multi-million marketing budget together with other members of the team. So as a team, they managed to turn the profit center from a loss to the third most profitable in the group within 3 years. Whilst at AIG, Elize was involved in several key projects, such as the implementation of the PPH rules, the Policyholder Protection Rules, the implementation of key computer systems and Six Sigma. Elize continued working with AIG even when Christine traveled and left to the east. Upon her return from Asia, ABSA Insurance and ABSA Life merged into one company. As part of the GM team, Christine was able to refer Elize to a senior position within the administration team. There, her role was no longer limited to A&H, but to all lines of businesses. This included major lines such as credit card travel insurance, funeral plans, to name a few. With Barclays came the role of white labeling ABSA products under brands such as Virgin Money. Again, with Elize's attention to detail and natural skills, she became a key player in several programs and in the implementation of the National Credit Act, which was one of the biggest. During her term of office with Christine, Elize supported her through the death of her mother and the marriage to Danny, and Elize became more than just a colleague, and they became very close friends. And now for Elize's time with ABSA Insurance Company. Elize began her journey with ABSA Insurance Company on the 15th of August, 2007, as the customer experience manager, and later on, quality assurance was also added onto her portfolio. This is when I met Elize. In 2009, I joined AIC, that's ABSA Insurance Company, as the business risk officer. And I worked closely with Elize and her team, particularly the quality assurance team, being a person in risk. We went on, actually, to travel to the South Africa regional offices together to provide joint training. So Elize was still in her role of customer experience and quality assurance, and I was the business risk officer. And I remember the first time was when we had to drive together to Bethlehem and Bloemfontein during winter, and it was freezing. It was my very first time to ever go to Bethlehem and to Bloemfontein. I'm not from South Africa, and I was just complaining to Elize the whole way, saying how cold I was, especially in Bethlehem. Now, at the time, I was driving a small silver Toyota RAV4, and we agreed unanimously that Elize's fancy BMW at the time was a more fitting car for our trip. I then drove to her house early on in the morning that we were going to travel, and her house was one of those houses at the time on the hills off 14th Avenue. You know, those hills, I used to always just see them passing, you know, the highway, those houses over there. And I remember my RAV4 crying whilst driving up that steep hill towards Elize's house. It was a big house. Remember that time I was 28 years old. The big house was also accompanied by big Great Danes. That's all I remember when I got there. I remember just thinking, wow, what a house. Yo, this is like goals. Elize was 45 at the time, and I was 28 years old. But we spoke about anything and everything, you know, during those trips. So we did travel quite a lot together. I didn't even know that, you know, in like 10 years, 15 years' time, that we would be working together. Fast forward a few years, Elize approached me to discuss that she was actually interested in risk management. I had left AIC by then, and I was working as the business risk officer of our African regional offices, and I was also caretaking, at the time, the head of operational risk role for the businesses. So in November 2013, Elize has decided to switch careers and join the AFS risk team. That was, and if many of you understand, it is a real career change, and that was a very big and bold move that she made with no risk experience. She moved into the role of business risk officer for ABSA Insurance Company, and later she also then worked for the African regional offices non-life insurance entities. So she helped with Global Alliance Mozambique, and at the time she also assisted when we acquired First Assurance Kenya as well as a business. When I was appointed the head of operational risk for wealth insurance management and insurance, Elize then started reporting to me then. Elize did not come from a risk background, but she quickly grasped the risk concepts and took on the role fully. You would have never known that Elize was a newbie in risk. She even went on to assist, train, and mentor many others as and when they joined the risk team or within the organization. Elize was very dedicated and committed to her role. She was always professional in her conduct at all times, always on time, dependable, reliable, and full of integrity. Her yes was a yes, and her no was a no, which is an asset within risk management. I knew that if I went on leave, Elize had it covered for me. She was literally my 2IC. I could go on holiday and not worry about a thing because I know Elize had it in check. Elize still had fun with the girls, some of them who are sitting here today and who've joined. She still had her fun with the girls, the ladies that she befriended within the AIC business, and even when she moved to risk. And even they moved on to other areas of the company, but they still maintained their friendships. She was consistent and prioritized what was important for her. I knew not to bother Elize after 4:30, for example, on a Wednesday, because I know she would be in a gym session. And I knew that in March, she would take leave for cycling, and I know at times she would also go skiing. So I already had to plan in advance, even if we had deadlines, I better make sure that I do it because Elize won't be around in March. And even in July, she would be in the Drakensberg for their timeshare holidays. I always have a visual of Elize with her trolley bag, and for those of you who work, she always had that trolley bag, walking with her back straight, like a Miss Proper, She would always be coming in or leaving the office with her trolley bag and her serious demeanor, and she was very serious about her role. But inside all of that, she had a soft heart, always willing to help and also very understanding. In January 2007, I rejoined Absa Insurance Company, and Elize continued to report directly to me, but I was working much closer with her now. And she looked after Absa Insurance Company and also with Global Alliance Mozambique, who really valued Elize immensely and who have also come through to represent, and I know also are online. Elize was instrumental in improving the control environment of the non-life insurance businesses. When I joined in 2007, all our non-life insurance businesses were rated red from a control environment perspective. But over time, as now, from the time that Elize had stopped working in January 2024, GAM, Global Alliance Mozambique, and Absa Insurance Company were green, both in our control environment and in the management attitude towards risk. And that is a testament of how much she really put into our businesses. Elize's passing took me by surprise. I knew she was sick. I knew she was really sick. But I still had a glimmer of a hope that she would pull through. And we would be talking about this difficult time in her life and testify of her healing. I honestly believed that she would pull through this. And come December, we would remembering or something about these moments. But unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. Thank you, Elize, for all the work and sacrifice that you gave within risk and within my team. And I pray for God to comfort you, Garth and Liam, and all those who are mourning the loss of Elize. May her soul rest in peace. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. Garth, thank you for teaching me that Catherine Jenkins can also sing the song, because I only believe that Leonard Cohen can do it. And this song was the reason why this week on Wednesday I drank an extra glass of red wine while listening to it. So thank you for that. It's a powerful song. I've got a little toddler, 3 years old now, and his favorite movie at this stage is Lion King, especially the part where Simba needs to walk up to Pride Rock to take in his place as king. And the reason I'm saying this is for you, Garth and Liam. It is time. When Rafiki says that, it's your turn, and we would love to listen to you. I know Neville is going to talk first, but we look forward to listening.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, Elize asked Garth and Liam to write something to her to be read out at a memorial service. At the same time, she was obviously aware that both of them are quite emotional people and it was going to be tough. And so her last request to me was, Nev, you might need to be there. And if need be, you're going to have to carry on and read the eulogy wherever they stop. And so as the backup plan, and while I'm up here, let me also say a few things. So for anyone that doesn't know me, my name's Neville, and I've known Garth for just over 16 years. And in fact, Shane and I have the honor of actually being Liam's godparents. So our family met Garth and Liam at Liam's 7th birthday. And Garth and I chatted through the afternoon. We had a few beers, we had a bit of red wine, and at the end of the party, Garth actually asked our family to remain behind and please braai with them, which we did. And that was really the beginning of a truly special friendship. And what followed after that was years of many, many braais at each other's houses. And we drank copious amounts of red wine. And we played a lot of very competitive games of 30 seconds, still to determine who's the cleverer of the two of us. We watched a lot of rugby, we listened to a lot of 80s music, and we spent hours and hours in Garth's heated swimming pool. And one evening, Garth invited the special lady, Elize, to a braai at his house. And I remember during the evening at some stage, Garth looked over at my wife, Shana, and all he got in return was this big grin and one of those. And at the end of the evening, the prognosis was clear that she's the one. And she truly was the one. And Elize just fits it in. She fits it in from word go. And in short, that's the story of how our family grew from 4 members to 7. We pretty much did everything after that together. Family holidays, weekends away. We went on a ski trip together. We went on motorbike rides. We attended a lot of live concerts and shows and everything together. And on their wedding day, together with Dave, we were the best men at the wedding. And my 2 daughters, who were always known as the princesses, Dana and Kira, were the flower girls. And it was a special day that we had at Ponta de Ora. And it was a privilege to be a part of. But sadly, as the saying goes, all good things need to come to an end. And it was on Christmas Day last year when Garth, Elize, and Liam came to our house for the afternoon. And shortly after they arrived, Elize asked if she could be excused. She wasn't feeling well. And it was evident that something wasn't right, and she was in major pain. And what followed over the next few months was we watched our dear friend suffer, and she slowly faded away. And she fought with all of her might to the bitter end with grace and dignity. And we watched Garth fight alongside her, never leaving her side, often totally exhausted, but soldiering on for his queen. How do you comfort a dear friend who's like a brother, who's lost everything? as Garth carried Elize's body down the stairs on the day she passed, I saw my wife realize her best friend was about to leave forever. She was shattered. But the meaning of life is truly highlighted in those stages and today. And that's what we appreciate, having spent time with people. But we had to celebrate Elize, not to be sad. We need to appreciate the time we shared with her. And so in closing, a little poem we put together from the Grahams to our friend. And it goes as follows. We are here to celebrate your life and the message of its worth and every single life you touched while you were on this earth. We wish to pay our last respects. That's why we are all here. To thank you for your friendship and all the memories we hold dear. It's been a privilege to have known you. You were a family and not just friends. And we will carry you in our spirit until we meet again.
I cannot even decide to begin to reminisce on the countless loving memories I have with my mom. Since I'm much older now, I understand things better. And it is definitely more painful this time round. I got to know this mother so well. I got to open up to her. And one day I decided to take a big leap of faith and call her my mom. Truth be told, I've been very privileged over the years. I've been spoiled throughout my entire life. There's been nothing more materialistic that I've never received or gotten from my parents. At birth, I was blessed with the most precious mother. But unfortunately, on the 17th of September, 2006, she was taken away from me. I was only 5. Ever since the passing of my mother, Kathy, my dad has had to fill in the gaps. There was a void in my heart which he had to fill in. He had to take on both fatherly and motherly love at the same time. Nobody can prepare you for such a drastic change overnight. My father has remained a role model to me, and he will remain my role model until my dying day. I will continue to look up to him because of his knowledge, strength, and perseverance, as well as the morals he has bestowed upon me. As the years went by, Mommy Kathy aligned the stars for my dad and I. She saw how lonely Dad was, and I was growing up fast. So she made a plan, and that plan became fate. She knew she needed to send someone extra special to take care of her sons, of her boys, and that she did. She sent us her dear friend, Elize, whom she knew would fill in when she no longer could. Gosh, I can't even remember the day I met my mom. Like all mothers and son relationships, we did not always completely agree. We could bump heads now and then. However, one thing for sure is I grew up to love her dearly. She once told me, if you never have any arguments or any disagreements, then you do not care enough for each other. You do not share a loving bond. Well, damn, Mom, we definitely shared a loving bond. There are so many life lessons that she gave me that I will take with me. She taught me to stand up for myself, to chase after my dreams, to never give up on any challenge that has been given me, to face the battles that have been laid before me, to always love and see the good in people, no matter the circumstances. While growing up, I've been fortunate enough to experience many extravagant holidays across the world, from road trips to skiing in Europe. The day my mom decided to join our circle, she accepted the challenge. Life with the guys meant she was going to have to put herself out there and face what came her way. Dan and I were adrenaline junkies, and any crazy endurance activity we did, she did with us. What became evident was my mom's great zest for life. Not only did she go along with Dan and I, but she also participated willingly. She never complained, and she always had a smile on her face. There was not anything that Dad and I did that my mom was not willing to try. So that's how Mom became our lifelong adventure buddy. Do not tell anyone, but I do think that the Jägermeister or Dutch courage may have helped her along the way. Regardless, she did it, and she did it with pride. She even outdid me once when she went skydiving. Now that's something that I will not do. I'm a firm believer that both of my feet should stay on the ground. Not my mom, she was born to fly. She had no problem in skiing down the steepest of slopes. And in fact, this reminds me of the first ski holiday we had in 2011 in St. Johann. This was my mom's first time skiing, and she took it like a champ. She completely overcame all of her nerves and fears that she had acquired before the trip. I aspire to just be like her. I want to be as brave as she was, and I want to tick as many bucket list items off of my list the way that she did. Prior to this holiday, I've had the privilege to ski at many beautiful resorts in Europe. But this was by far my most favorite holiday, as this was the first time I told her, I love you, Mom. And it hit me. It was no longer going to be Dad and I. We were going to be 3. Mom was here to stay. This meant I had a family. Thinking back to my school days, there was no greater feeling than having both of my mom and my dad support me in my cycling events. They were my biggest and loudest supporters. They were at every race, no matter what. The sport was a very time-consuming and demanding. It forced me to be extremely disciplined, and I had set out goals which I worked really hard towards. And I think I can say that it paid off, as I became one of the country's most top riders in my age category. I would never have achieved such a major accomplishment without my parents, without their support and their love and care. My mom and dad has always stood beside me, proudly holding my hand, and they are my encouragement still to this day. Whether it was a cross-country race, a marathon race, or a stage race, they were both there, shouting and cheering me on. There was no better feeling than crossing the finish line, just to see your greatest fans, arms in the air, welcome you home. Her smile was as large and wide as the Amazon River. My cycling was not just about my victories, but it was a victory as we did as a family. My beautiful mother and my happy mother has always been proud of me. I will always remember my mom attending all my school annual prize givings. Of course, just for sport, because I was never an academic. The minute my name was called on and I proceeded to walk onto the stage, my mom would stand up in front of everybody and proceed to take photos, which always came out blurry. But she did it. She never, ever complained. And she did so with a smile on her face, feeling so proud of her son. No one can ever take that away from you, Mom. No one. Thinking back to the day when my parents got married in 2012 in Ponta, not only was I the ring bearer, which was an especially important task, and of course it was to not lose the rings, which I may or may not have done. I was graced with the opportunity to witness my beautiful mother promise to love my dad until death do us part. She did that. She gave us her entire heart and soul. A better wife, a better mother, Dad and I did not ask for. Mom's laughter, smiles, and giggles, and her voice will forever be played on repeat like my favorite song in my head. Although you may not know, although you may not be on this earth anymore, I will turn to you for guidance in my thoughts and think back on all of the advice you have given me. I may not be able to physically hold your hand, but I know you are walking next to me. I know you fought so damn hard, but still they got the better of you. I felt so helpless as I sat next to your bed on the 17th of June, holding your hand, just saying goodbye, and hearing you take your last breath. At least I can take comfort in knowing that your pain is no longer here. However, having to say goodbye was never on the cards. Just the thought thereof brings me to tears. Your dreaded disease came so out of the blue. It shook me to my core. But I knew I had to be strong for you. But at the age of 23, I never thought I'd have to say goodbye. Mom, you're an angel now. I know the Lord has come to fetch you. He walked over the rainbow and into his heavenly kingdom. May you cherish and rest in eternal peace. Until then, I promise to take care of Dad. And we will live each day to the fullest, never taking another tomorrow for granted. Mom, I'd like to leave you with this verse. Saying goodbye to my mother by saying thank you. Goodbye is the saddest word I will ever hear. Goodbye is the last time I will hold you near. Someday you will say that word and I will cry. It will break me and break my heart to hear you say goodbye. Till then, goodbye, Mom. Till we meet again, goodbye.
Sure.
Not easy, huh?
The really strange thing is, I've never read Liam's eulogy. This is an 80% carbon copy, believe it or not. He's never read mine either. Before I actually get on with the eulogy, the 3 songs that were chosen for today: Robbie Williams' Angels was played at Kathy's funeral. Catherine Jenkins' Hallelujah was Elize's favorite song. And Time to Say Goodbye is a song we played at my father's funeral. So we thought it was fitting to pull the 3 families together as one to say goodbye. So let me see if I can get through this without making a fool of myself. Never once did I ever think that I would have to write a eulogy for the love of my life. Elize was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer that had metastasized to her ovaries, spine, abdominal layer. Oh, that is such a Jägermeister find. Oh, that is such a Jägermeister. I hope that is Dave van Niekerk's phone. Oh, even worse, Big Don. No asses, mate. And moved to abdominal layer on the 6th of February of this year. She was brave and pushed through all of the pain. Eventually the disease took my queen Elize and left this world on Monday, the evening of June the 17th, in our beloved home, circled by the love of Liam and I, one day before our 12th wedding anniversary. Official wedding anniversary. So in case you don't know, we got married on the beach in Ponta de Ora, and without even knowing, we met Neville and Shana at the customs and immigration, and the pastor was standing there, and all of a sudden he says, "Do you take Elize? You always," excuse me, what? No, you have to get married in South Africa before you can get married in Mozambique. So officially and unofficially, she might or she might not have died on our wedding anniversary. So let's leave it there. So I thought, as opposed to doing a eulogy, I'd rather just tell you a love story. Our love story. We were fortunate enough to share many wonderful years together, but all the same, I feel as though I would do anything to be able to have more time with her. Sometimes it seems as though we had always known one another, but in fact, we only got together rather late in life. We truly did get a love story, which I'd like to share with you now. To do this, however, I have to go back in history, and I have to go to the start and the beginning. I moved into number 2 Franklin Court, Lord's Avenue in Windsor East on Monday, the 1st of June, 1992. Typical with young guys, we had not many possessions, so the move-in was exceptionally fast. So I grabbed a few beers and banged on number 3, Franklin Court, to introduce myself. As it turns out, the meeting of Danny Mills that day started aligning the stars for me to one day meet Elize. Danny and I soon became the best of friends and had pretty much lived out of each other's homes. To supplement my income at the time, I was a barman in the evenings at an establishment called the Wigan Pen in Randburg, opposite the magistrates' courts. Danny would come in a few evenings a week, and one evening, 2 ladies entered the bar, Christine Ward and Sue Dubois. Danny became smitten with Christine, and they were soon a permanent couple. Before long, Liam's mother, Kathy, and I were invited to Danny and Christine for a braai. At that braai was a third couple, Tom and Elize. Elize worked for Christine. Before long, the three couples were having braais together, going for suppers, and going away on weekends. Danny and Christine married, and Christine became mom to Tony, Danny's younger daughter. Shortly after this period, Christine accepted a job in Thailand, and the three of them packed up and moved across the world. Upon their return to South Africa, there were tenants living in their home, so they moved into one of my houses that I had on my land in Glen Austin. On the 7th of September 2006, Danny came up to my house to tell me the news that Tom, Elize's husband, had passed away. I couldn't believe it. He was so young. 10 days later, on the 17th of September, Kathy had a brain aneurysm and passed 17 hours later. Liam was 5 at the time. It was on that day that I made a conscious decision to make every day count, to live it as if it was our last day on the face of the earth, and no client was more important than Liam. We toured this country either for holidays, for my work, or for going on motorbike events. I'm an urban boy. I'm meant to love the sea. I don't. That December, we went to Mauritius for our year-end holiday, and whilst there, I reaffirmed my dislike for the sea. The following December, we went skiing in St. Johann in Austria for the first time. Liam took to it like a duck to water, and without question, our holidays in December became ski holidays. Dave van Niekerk, Donnie, I think I saw Kenny. We all met on the pistes in Austria, in this little village, St. Johann. Dave was along with Neville, my best man at our wedding. Sorry, I skipped a passage. Another couple I would like to mention, I know that they are dialing in from the UK, Hanneli and Ferdy. Also, we had ski holidays between Switzerland and St. Johann, and they have become lifelong friends. There are too many people who are actually dialing in from around the world to celebrate Elize's life and to mention all in person, but I thank one and all for the effort that you have made to be part of it. In about July of 2010, I was told I was old-fashioned, and I had to join Facebook. I actually didn't even know what Facebook was. Lisa Brett, it's your fault. But I also have to thank you for that. Because if it wasn't for your assistance to get with it, I would never have gotten together with my queen. Because a few months later, I received a friend request from Elize. Via Facebook, we arranged to go out for drinks, which then became supper. Believe it or not, I did not even ask her for a phone number. The balance of that year for work was crazy, and we didn't see each other again. Liam and I were going for a 3-week ski holiday, leaving on the 16th of December that year. And Christine invited us over for Christmas supper on the 15th. Without knowing, Elize was also there. During the evening, Elize told me that she had a home in St. Lucia that she had just sold and had to go and empty out her personal possessions that they didn't sell along with the home. As Maddie rightly mentioned earlier, Elize had this fully imported two-door BMW with Santon tires. Liam and I had previously, a few weeks before, did a motorbike trip in Pongola, so I knew what those roads looked like. And without hesitation, I said to her, take my Land Rover. But there's only 2 requests. No, conditions. 1, you don't smoke in my car. At the time, Elize was a smoker, and I detest smoking. And the second non-negotiable was that she had to be at the airport to fetch Liam and I when we arrived back. Believe it or not, I still didn't have a phone number. Following day, car loaded with our skis, bags and everything, we went to Elize's house to pick her up. Yes, Maddie, my car could get up that driveway. And she took us to the airport. It was there for the first time that she rattled off her phone number. However, like a fool, I didn't save it to my phone. A week into our holiday, I decided to phone her, but could not remember the number. I knew, however, it began with an 082. There was a 33 in there, and there was a 11 in there. So you can imagine the permutations that you can have. So I started making phone calls, sitting on the carpet in the carpet leading between our 2 rooms. And I've made call after call after call, and you can guess where this went. People receiving an arbitrary phone call from an arbitrary bloke in Austria. Do I know somebody called Elize? After about the 10th call, I actually got through to her, but the signal in St. Lucia was not great at all, and the call kept dropping. This time I saved the number. Thereafter, almost every evening after Liam had gone to sleep, I called her. All these years later, that is still the most expensive phone bill I have ever received from MTN. At the end of our holiday, as point 2 of my previous conditions, there was Elize waiting for us at the terminal as we came through. During the next few months, we started dating properly, and Elize started understanding and experience my zest for life and for living for today. Without blinking, she climbed onto one of my quad bikes. We bought her all the protective gear, and she joined us on our biking weekends away. One of these was a 3-day ride from Pongola to Ponta d'Ora in Mozambique, called Tri-Nations because you also go through Swaziland. As all of Elize's colleagues at ABSA will attest to, her makeup, her hair, her nails, her clothes were always immaculate. Seeing her with a face full of mud, her hair disheveled, and a massive smile on her face, I knew that she was the one. During the year, as you do when you start dating, you end up asking each other questions, and it was then that we realized how much our lives were intertwined, how similar the problems, and how parallel the lives actually were. Tom and Elize desperately wanted to have children, but unfortunately could not conceive. Kathy and I desperately wanted a child, but we had the opposite problem. Kathy kept having miscarriages. It was then that a Dr. Fullion at Pretoria East Hospital diagnosed Kathy with having systemic lupus, which kept sending blood clots through her system, and these clots were what was causing the miscarriages via the fetus's heart. We then had to inject her every day with Clexane and progesterone for the entire duration of her pregnancy. Fortunately, Liam was then born on the 30th of January 2001. Elize also had to inject herself every day with progesterone. Unfortunately for them, though, she wasn't able to conceive. Liam earlier mentioned our holiday December 2011. As a family, we were in St. Johann in Austria to go skiing. Because as much as I'd seen Elize enjoy all of my other eccentricities, I had to make sure that she enjoyed my passion for skiing. A few private lessons later, and she was skiing with Liam and I. Yes, she fell. Yes, she got back up. It was on the first day after her lessons with a good friend of Dave Don's and ours, old Wolfie, ski instructor in the village, that I decided that she needed a break at the Yellow Umbrella. For those of you who do not know, it is a restaurant/bar halfway down one of the pieces, circular in shape, with a yellow umbrella as its roof, run by the two most energetic husband and wife teams you've ever come across in your life. Elize wanted a hot chocolate, but without her knowing, I ordered it with a straw rum shot. Since that day, she tells everybody she was never ever able to ski until she had her first straw rum of the day. Her hips and knees just would not work in conjunction with each other. New Year's Eve in St. Johann, every year they have this most incredibly beautiful fireworks display to various pieces of Mozart or modern music or whatever. And it was during that display I witnessed Liam take Elize's hand and said, "I love you, Mommy." As my friends will contest to, I'm an exceptionally emotional person. Well, that was me done. It was as if, though, he was handing the mommy baton over to Elize. My heart suddenly swelled with unbelievable emotions. Upon our return, I immediately bought a diamond ring from one of our clients and had her engagement ring made. Elize made me the happiest of men alive when she said yes to my proposal at the Koi Dam at my home in Glenorchy. Now came the wedding planning, and I was blown away that she wanted to get married barefoot on a beach in Ponta d'Oro. For the third time, I'm telling you how much I love the sea. Why June? Because that is when we did the family adventures Tri-Nations bike ride from Pongola to Ponta. I can tell you that apart from the birth of Liam, that was honestly the happiest day of my life. Surrounded by family and friends, my queen said, "I do." Whilst tumbling along with my groom's speech at the corner of my eye, I saw Liam do that to Elize. It was the most beautiful gesture ever. That day I was privileged enough not only to marry the love of my life, but Liam was blessed with a mother who loved him beyond measure. The night after we got married, a bunch of us went to a restaurant about 10 kilometers out of Ponta called 360 Degree. It's a double wooden structure with a deck-like floor. Well, I haven't been used to having a ring on my finger for years, so playing with it,
I dropped it. It rolled between the cracks in the floor and disappeared into the powder-like sand underneath. Operation Find the Ring commenced. Very fortunately for me, my ring was found, and I made a promise to never take it off again. I did take my ring off a week ago. Since we took up cycling, I've stopped wearing my proper wedding ring, and I had a silicone ring. And when we went for the private viewing of her before she went for cremation, it dawned on me she didn't have a ring on. I took my ring off to make sure we were wed whilst she was cremated. Ponta very soon became one of our favorite holiday destinations, and we visited there with friends on many occasions. After our wedding, we stayed at Ponta for a week. Elize and I would ride everywhere on the quad bikes, whilst the rest of the friends and the family who stayed on for the week with us drove to the various places in their cars. About a week after we got back from the wedding, Neville decided that he wanted to buy a motorbike. Not any motorbike. He wanted the new BMW 1200cc. He's never ridden a motorbike in his life, but he wants this. Immediately, I said to him, well, you do? Then I'll get one. After taking delivery of the bikes, we had been on quite a few rides when Elize then said to me, I don't want to be the achterpoppie anymore, I want my own bike. So a week later, her 700cc BMW was parked in our garage. We got to all the gear and we enjoyed riding. I cannot express to you the incredible feeling it is seeing your wife in your mirror as you are going up the Long Tom Pass. One of our bike trips that Liam and I used to do and enjoy was the annual Quads for Quads bike ride, which was a ride from Durban to Johannesburg, help raising money for the Quadriplegic Association of South Africa. It's a 4-day, 1,000-kilometer off-road ride from Durban to Joburg. Elize rode her BMW next to me through the bush over 4 days. The following year, Liam started mountain bike racing at school and asked if he could ride up Sani Pass. Well, a few weeks later, the three of us with a bicycle on the roof of the landing and the trailer with 2 BMWs, we set off for Heinville. The following day, whilst Liam rode from Heinville to the top of Sani Pass and back to Heinville again, Elize and I rode up Sani Pass on our motorbikes. Another day that I will never forget. After driving Liam to all parts of the country to partake in bicycle races, and an anecdote and a side note, Brendan, Mike, JC, Lynn, we were sitting at a table in Sabi when the 4 of them and Liam were doing a 3-day stage race. Elize and I had our trailer there with our motorbikes. Why? It's got an engine. 2 wheels need engines. Couldn't fathom, couldn't understand the joy one can get from bicycles. Sorry, let me now carry on. We decided to take the sport up. It did not make sense to me as there was no motor involved. As with all the other ridiculous things that I made Elize do, she took to cycling like duck to water, and she really enjoyed her time on the bikes and made so many friends through it, many of whom are here today. We spent many hours doing many thousands of kilometers together, going for a coffee. We joined the Centurion Cycle Club a few years ago, and there she made many, many true friends. Her favorite race was the Cape Town Cycle Tour, which she finished 4 times. I got sick just before last year's race, so I decided not to race it, but rather enjoy the day riding my bicycle next to her. I was able to take some of the most incredible photographs of her approaching Simonstown, with the sea in the background, riding her Blue Canyon in her Centurion Cycling Club race shirt. Another day that will always be etched in my memory. Our home changed often, but it was always colorful, cozy. In it, you could always find lively conversations, hospitality, the fresh smell of coffee, red wine, Jägermeister. She loved to talk about her work and the books she was always reading. She was a loving and devoted wife who seemed always have time to think of me and help me with my own work. She'll be remembered for her curiosity, her compassion, her humor. Though she stopped working after her cancer diagnosis, she never really stopped working, as she was constantly sending messages to her colleagues to see how they were coping, and to see, and she was really concerned that her absence would put undue pressure on the rest of the risk team. After Kathy, I never thought I would find love again. Elize was the best thing that ever happened to me. She completed our family. I had a wife who loved me, and Liam a mother whom loved him unconditionally. She brought such joy to our lives, and I, for one, am going to miss her desperately. I'd like to thank all of our dear friends, the group of devoted friends that gave us strength and laughter during these most difficult days. Elize's spirit was a part of you and always will be. Before we go our separate ways, I'd like to share this poem with you that I wrote for her. I give you this one thought to keep. I am with you still. I do not sleep. I'm 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glints on snow. I am the sunlight on ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift, uplifting rush of quiet birds in encircled flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. So not think of me as gone. I am with you still in each new day. Rest in peace, my queen. I love you. Oh.
We're coming to the end of today's service, and as a last song, we're going to listen together to Time to Say Goodbye from Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman. This I know, Golf. It's a good song. Then we also invite you, Golf and Liam especially, 61 roses, am I right? Are there 61? Did we count them? Good. There's 61 roses And normally we've got a moment at the end of a service. We go outside and then we read the confession of faith and then we say goodbye. But today we invite you, if you would like. There are only 61 roses. But do take one and then place it in the other vase. And then that's the vase that Garth and Liam would like to take home. And they're going to put on their table to remind them of today. So whilst the song are playing, your choice, your time. And then once we're done, I'm going to read the last bit, and then I'll tell you what happens next. Thanks. think we can just as well carry on up until Sunday, because I'm here now. So we're joking. So this is the last part. I told Gav, this is part of our tradition, where we do confess our faith at the end of a funeral or a memorial service. And I would just like to communicate what's going to happen now. It's not hard. I'm going to ask all of you to stand up. Once I do so, please stand up, but not now. And then we're going to say our last words. We're going to confess our faith. You do it in your heart if you would like. If not, it's also your choice, but that's what we do in our tradition. And then I'm going to say amen, and a song is going to play. And without any further announcements, Gav and Liam, family, friends, invite you just across from the church. There's an open door, the church hall, and there you can have some coffee, tea, something to eat, and share stories as much as you like. So let us stand and let's end this service together. Let's close our eyes and pray towards the Lord. Gracious and wonderful God, we gathered here today to say goodbye to our loved one. We grieve because we will not see her again on this earth. But we celebrate because we know that she's enjoying your presence right now. We rejoice that our loved one is at peace. She feels no pain. And we do ask that you will welcome her and deliver her from the sickness and sorrow of this world. Thank you for the gift of eternal life. Thank you that we can also be part of this world to make a unique effort to change it. With the guidance and the love and the grace of your Son, Jesus Christ. And with this prayer in our thoughts, let us confess our faith in the Almighty. We believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible. And in one Lord Jesus Christ, the Son of God, the only begotten, begotten of the Father before all ages. Light of light, true God of true God, begotten, not made, of one essence with the Father, by whom all things were made, who for us men and for our salvation came down from heaven, was incarnate of the Holy Spirit and the Virgin Mary, and became man. And he was crucified for us under Pontius Pilate, and suffered and was buried. And the third day he rose again, according to the Scriptures, and ascended into heaven, and sits at the right hand of the Father. And he shall come again with glory to judge the living and the dead, whose kingdom shall have no end. And we believe in the Holy Spirit, the Lord, the giver of life, who proceeds from the Father, who with the Father and the Son together is worshipped and glorified, who spoke by the prophets. We believe in one holy and apostolic church. We acknowledge one baptism for the remission of sins. And we look forward to the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Amen. Travel safely.